And we're very lucky to be joined by one of the members of our Super Bowl 50, Terrell Owens, one of the best receivers of all time. T.O., thank you so much for joining us. It is Super Bowl time of the year. Is this the time where you really think back on all the preparation that it took for you to get ready for Super Bowl 39?
Absolutely. It does bring back some fond memories. I do remember my preparation leading up to the Super Bowl, considering the major injury that I had sustained 6.5, 7 weeks out. And so not only for myself personally, but my teammates, the city of Philadelphia, they were excited about, us getting to the Super Bowl. Prior to me getting there, they had reached the NFC Championship like 4 times. And so we finally had gotten over that hump. And so I know really for myself, really just with what I brought in terms of, my confidence, my swagger to the team, and that really carried them on throughout the playoffs when I didn't play. But again, for me, I wanted to do it for the city of Philadelphia because that's why they brought me there. And so we finally got there. And as you mentioned, we came up just a little bit short.
Obviously, there was a lot of work that went into making sure that you were ready. A lot of people didn't think that you were going to play in that game, but you must be thankful now that you did put all that effort and all that work to get ready for that game, knowing that that was your only chance to play in a Super Bowl.
Well, absolutely. And I think, for me, I put first and foremost my faith in God that I would be able to get back on that field and just be able to run around and be able to contribute. As you alluded to, no doctors, nobody ever gave me a chance to get back on that football field to play at the level that I played. So for me, like I said, I did it, for my teammates. That's what I came there to do. Super Bowls, they don't come around very often. I mean, very few teams are fortunate to make it as many times as the Patriots have gotten there. So you look at what Jared Allen is going through with the injury that he has with the, I guess they said diagnosed it as a broken foot, and he's trying to do whatever he can, whatever he can do to get back on the field to play. Because again, it's a once in a lifetime thing. And you mentioned it. I played in that one Super Bowl and I wasn't able to play again. So it's something that a lot of guys, they prepare for, they work hard for throughout the course of their careers, and not many are fortunate enough to make it. So when you get that opportunity, you want to definitely try to make the most of it.
Second all-time in receiving yards, third all-time in receiving touchdowns. Certainly, you're a Hall of Famer. This is the first year you're up for it, but I've seen in multiple interviews that you don't care about the Hall of Fame. Why not?
Well, that's the thing for me is I never really played, for that accolade in itself, and I understand the magnitude of the Hall of Fame. And for me, I would allow and will allow my body of work to kind of speak for itself. And I say that, nonchalantly, because I know there are politics, to any and everything. And I understand the criteria for a lot of guys that, that are inducted. There's a lot of factors into why guys make it and why they don't make it. I think for me, there's a lot of things that come into question in terms of my character and how there are certain situations that came up and how I handled those things throughout my career. And for me, I was very passionate about what I did. I knew firsthand that, I put in a lot of hard work and I demanded a lot from myself. And for me, I demanded a lot from my teammates. And sometimes that didn't come across as well. I didn't have a lot of tact in terms of really conveying sometimes my thoughts as well as I should have. And that comes with maturity. And I understand that, there are some things that I could have done and I should have said better. But, throughout it all, I mean, if you look at some of the guys that have been in the Hall of Fame, there's a number of guys that have had a number of, I guess you can call it character issues, you can call it off the field problems with law, any other things that you can probably bring up. But I never had any of those issues, at all. So that's why I pretty much have that nonchalant, attitude about if I make it, I make it. If I don't, I don't. But at the same time, I know first and foremost that, if you look at my statistics, that speaks loudly for me. So I don't really necessarily, it's not me putting down the Hall of Fame. I understand the magnitude of it. It's definitely an honor to be, spoken in the same breath as some of those guys, and the possibility to join those guys on that platform. For me, I'm very fortunate, especially, considering, I came from a small town, probably the biggest thing that came out of Alexander City. And nobody, in that town, or even probably when I left high school, ever thought that, Terrell Owens would be where he is, statistically in the National Football League, and accomplish some of the things that I have since leaving high school in 1992. So I'm very fortunate. I'm very blessed. And for me, I never thought I would play beyond the collegiate level. So, my story, and if I am to be inducted, it's definitely an inspiration to a lot of kids across the country. I can be sort of that blueprint and that inspiration for those kids that really have dreams to make it to the next level. But those kids that don't, it's really an inspiration for me to motivate them and inspire them to be what you want to be and play any and every sport, because you never know what talents you may discover just by playing just a number of other sports.
You say you come from a small town. You came from a small school too, Chattanooga. What was it? I know you started as a basketball player. You ran a lot of track. At what point did you, at any point, come to the realization that football was where you could be great at long term?
I really didn't know, really, honestly, until I got drafted. You mentioned I played, a number of sports in high school. I played baseball. I ran track. I played basketball and obviously football. So when I went to UT Chattanooga, it was really kind of a package deal, because they were recruiting the star receiver at our high school, Derek Hall, at the time. And so they offered somewhat of a package deal. I went there. I had no idea, kind of where I was going, but I made the most of my opportunity. And so for me, to be able to accomplish, what I've accomplished, coming from really a small town, small school, I look back on it and I kind of want to pat myself on the back. It's somewhat remarkable, but again, that's why I keep saying, my story is really, it can be an inspiration to a lot of kids out there, because my passion was to play basketball. I was like any other kid, even now, that has never seen Michael Jordan play basketball at all. They want to be like Mike. And so you have these guys like your Kobe's, your Steph Curry's, LeBron's. These are guys that, a lot of these kids, along with myself and Brady's, your Adrian Petersons, your Odell Beckhams. These are guys that these little kids are looking up to. So, we definitely, have our work cut out for us in terms of really being role models, within our team and in the community. So I'm proud to say that, I can be, somewhat of an inspiration to a lot of the kids out there.
We've done a lot of looking back at your career, but this year it seemed like your career might not be over yet. You said you wanted to come and join the Patriots. Do you really still feel like you can play in the NFL?
Well, there's no doubt that I can play. And, I talk about the politics of the game, and I think, some of that really kind of, I put a lot of that probably on myself in terms of why teams won't bring me in, because I am a household name. You think about the PR that goes into that. A lot of teams, GMs, owners, they would think that would be a distraction. And the only reason I mention that, because when I later on in my career, those are some of the things that came up in the negotiations or in the contractual talks. In the discussions with my agents, because those were some of the things that teams feared and they worried about, because I was such a big name in the sport. And so they felt like I was bringing the circus to their town. So other than that, man, I know no doubt and wholeheartedly that I could definitely play at a productive and a high level. It's just a matter of, again, the politics, and they say that I'm too old. But, age is nothing but a number. I know Jerry, he's one of those guys pretty much at a skill position that played into his 40s. You have guys like kickers and things of that nature that have played well beyond 40. But I think anybody that knows me, I would be really sort of an exception to that rule, that age rule. And I make a joke about it, and I say, age is not a number. Age is really just a word. So, I never really have been actively seeking to, to play for the Patriots. If the opportunity came about, then yeah, I would have entertained that. I think a lot of the hoopla started, with a lot of the fan engagement throughout my social media. And I had an interview with one of the, I think it was the Boston Globe, one of the writers there in Boston. And when they had a rash of injuries, he basically followed up with me and asked me, was I, aware of what was going on, and if the Patriots had reached out or I had reached out to them as far as an opportunity to come in and work out. And I basically just told them, no, nobody has reached out. I hadn't reached out to them at that point. But if they were to bring me in, I would be open for a workout.
So do you prepare in the off season, work out daily like you did during the regular season, just waiting for a phone call?
No, I don't. I've been actually just keeping myself in shape for the most part. I mean, it's something that I've been doing since I guess last 2 or 3 years. When I wasn't playing and I was trying to get back in the league, I did work out with a number of guys here in Los Angeles just to kind of keep myself in shape. We went out on the field either at a local high school or college, maybe once, twice a week. And there were some guys even leading up to the season where we did one-on-ones. And these were guys that, they're either playing in the National Football League or they were trying to get a shot or just keeping themselves ready just as I was, just in case they got an opportunity. So, again, some of the guys that see me out there running around, they're like, dude, there's no way you should be in the league. They know that. They see that with their own eyes, and I know that. But again, it is what it is. I can only say that, for what I've accomplished, considering that I never thought I would play beyond the collegiate level, I think that speaks volumes. And, my stats are what they are, considering, I never really had that passion to be a football player. But once I really tapped in and understood what I could be with the right training and with the right mindset and that work ethic, I think if you look at the record books and you look at the stats, you see the results of all that hard work and what it can do.
Almost 16,000 receiving yards, 153 receiving touchdowns. But when you watch the NFL now and you see the gloves that these receivers are using, the rules that are out there to protect them, would you be even more dominating if you were at your peak today?
Absolutely. If you see it, if you kind of gauge and compare the numbers in terms of when I played, Jerry played, there were 1,000-yard receivers, but now you're having guys, they're on the threshold of 2,000 yards. You got guys 1,500 yards, 1,800 yards. Calvin Johnson, I think he's the only one I think that reached that 2,000-yard plateau. But I mean, these are guys that, in my eyes, they're talented, but I don't really foresee them being, 15 to 1,800-yard receivers had they, been playing during the times that we had played and with the rules not so great in terms of the rules and how the rules have made the game a little bit easier for us as receivers.
The rules have maybe easier for receivers to make plays, but it's not any easier to have them celebrate. You've hooked up with Butterfinger, going to pay $50,000 up to in fines for any celebrations in this weekend's games. Why are you doing that, and do you feel like the NFL is taking a little bit of fun out of the game?
Well, yeah, correction there. They're offering to pay, up to $50,000. And again, they're not any way affiliated with the National Football League. But yeah, they felt like, with what I've done throughout my career, a lot of people would say that I was an arrogant, I was flamboyant. A lot of people has a lot of negative things to say in terms of how I played and how they viewed me. But I think it's a great partnership considering, the things that I did on the football field at that time before there were rules really been, put in place or implemented to deter, guys from celebrating. I had fun with the game. A lot of people can say, even with this campaign, bolder than bold, that's what it's about, and so they're offering this type of cash to cover the fine, just in case, these guys want to, go out on a limb and really express themselves, and really go out there and show their best dance moves. And if it's excessive, I'm sure there'll be a flag or two thrown. So that's where, that 50K will be able to help cover part of that fine, if not more than that.
And do you think that the NFL needs to step back on that? I mean, you were the one who really put it out there with the popcorn and the signs and everything. Do you feel like it's not fun anymore?
Well, I think not only just me. I think a lot of players. I think the fans, and those are, that's really where it matters. That the fans. I mean, they only have, so much of a say so much of a voice in terms of what's implemented and what's not. And so I think, with what I've been able to do, in terms of being somewhat of a trendsetter, and these guys have really kind of deterred a lot of guys from celebrating. Then I think the league, I think they have taken a lot of the fun out of the game. And now you have guys like Cam and Odell and these guys coming up with these hip hop dances, or just bringing the culture of music, to the football field. They're doing the dab, they're doing the whip, the nay, they're doing all these things because there's not much else they can do. Some guys, they don't want to be the traditional, Rob Gronkowski, you get the ball and spike it and that's it. Now some guys think that that's just boring. And they want to entertain the fans. The fans come, to games to not only see a good game, but they want to be entertained as well. So I think I don't know if they will ever change it back or try to incorporate some way, somehow, these guys can have fun with the game without it being so just boring or blah. But we'll see.
One of the best receivers of all time. T.O., thank you so much for joining us.
All right, thank you, man.